Hello and thanks for stopping by. This is Spacechase for the Atari 2600, released by Apollo in 1981, and I'm playing this game off of a cartridge on a Retron 77. Apollo made 15 games or so for the Atari 2600 system, and the cartridges slightly resemble the build of the old Activision cartridges. The Activision cartridges were all standard, they all look the exact same. That basic shape, those are pretty common I guess. The Apollo carts are similar to that, but the biggest difference I would say would be their labeling. They have this particular style that makes their cartridges stand out from similar cartridges from other companies. Basically, it's a result of the top and the end label coloring. Basically, they have their title font and whatever graphics they have their artists do, but in both cases on the end and the main label, there's a thick, solid ring of color that borders whatever that graphic or font is. It's pretty interesting, it's unique, it makes them all sort of look the same from this manufacturer, which is nice. I know that the Atari 2600 had a sizable number of games that are set in outer space. This is one of the games off of that pile. In this game, you pilot a spaceship. You're basically flying around the moon, and you are being attacked and have to defeat raiders. You basically just shoot the raiders to get points. That's kind of all there is here. The further you get into the game, obviously, the more waves that you clear, obviously the enemies are going to get harder. Standard ascension of difficulty, I suppose. The cartridge actually has 24 different games available on it, but like a lot of Atari games, these different games, they're really just a mix of added variables to the basic gameplay. The basic variables are this: 1 or 2 players, limited heat-seeking missiles, maximum heat-seeking missiles. There's a level 1 difficulty, there's a level 2 difficulty, a level 3 difficulty. There's also a daytime battle and a nighttime battle. All the different games out of that 24, it's just a grid. And the grid has different combinations checked off for each game. That's it. I'd have to say I'm probably most excited about the game that switches from day to night. Some games do this with the Atari 2600, but there are a lot of games that don't. It seems like it's a really easy thing for a game to do, but not a lot of games necessarily took advantage of it. Basically, you just vary the color palette a little bit, and it sort of makes the game feel like it's a totally different game in a way. Or, for me anyway, it makes me have an easier time wanting to keep playing the game, because it's a little less boring. If you're having any sort of a marathon gameplay session, it gets kind of dull looking at the same screen over and over. Here, something as simple as changing some of the basic colors, and it seems to shift from day to night, that works really well at keeping this thing a little less monotonous. The gameplay here is actually okay. It's certainly repetitive, but there are some really cool things about this one that they do to make the game stand out a little bit. First, the enemies sort of zoom into the map. They seem to come from the surface of the planet, and they appear on your plane to start fighting. They show up in a pattern, and they just start flying around and shooting, but I like how they sort of zoom in. They just don't appear from off the screen. That's nice. Also, there are different enemy sprites depending on the difficulty level you choose, or how well you're doing in the game. And the different enemy sprites, not only do they look different, they fly in different groupings, and they have slightly different patterns. That's really nice. I have to say what's probably one of the most important things that stands out for me in this game is the background. They make this one look like you're flying along top of the moon, and you can see the surface of the planet scrolling beneath you. I think this works really well as an effect here, and I really appreciate it. I know this is just a basic repeating pattern, but it really seems to work here. I approve. It kind of makes me wonder, though, how many other games from this era would have really been improved if they added this sort of background concept the same way that this was implemented. I mean, this isn't a terribly detailed background, of course, but for the 2600, it's a huge plus. It's nice to see these sort of innovations. How would this have changed some of the games that were out at this time? You know, some of the games that just had boring backgrounds, or black, or some solid color. I don't know. This one seems to give it some activity. It makes it seem like there's real motion happening here. The one thing I wish we had in this game was some sort of music. We really don't have any of that to speak of here. We just have basic sound effects. We've got explosions, we've got some laser fire. That's really about it. It's a little monotonous. Overall, though, this is a pretty good game, I think. It's not bad. I like the title, but I'm a little confused at the title. Spacechase is a pretty neat name, but we're not actually chasing anyone in this game. This is really just you're flying around and fighting raiders, so they're not really chasing us. We're not really chasing them. I don't know why it would be called Space Chase. A little confusing, but what are you going to do? I guess I don't have a better title for it today. Well, that's all I have today for Space Chase for the Atari 2600. Thanks for stopping by to give this one a look, and I'll catch you on another video.